Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Friday the 16th of June comes to you from London. And we start by looking at currencies, then stock markets, commodities, and last of all US tech. So we see here that the dollar index has been strong the last day and a half or two. So we're just seeing here that we've got the short-term recovery. There's probably just US interest rates rising being digested. We've still got short-term resistance, but medium and long-term support on the point and figure charts. On the daily chart, on the cloud, we see we're still below on the dollar index, and we'd need to really be getting back above this 99 level to be recovered. That's a 1.5% increase. So dollar's still got quite a bit of work to do to turn bullish, but the long-term chart's still intact. Looking at the euro, where the last couple of days we've seen a real sell-off, dollar strength, euro weakness, and that's where we're seeing support or resistance being hit on the weekly chart. Still these downside targets hanging over us. So euro is still long-term looking pretty bearish, and the short-term's just turned bearish. Japanese yen, seeing the dollar looking strong here in the short term as well. This will give us the thrust targets, this latest move up, so that's looking pretty strong as well, that column not yet locked. And the British pound is just strangely holding up pretty well after the election result last week. We're seeing here that we are just really just on the cloud above the bullish side, so we're just seeing the sterling recovering a little bit here. Interestingly though, of course, on the long-term picture it's still pretty bearish. We see here the downside targets. Key thing is, can we hold this support level? Looking at euro sterling, looking stronger here as well against the euro, and also looking at the Swiss franc, we're seeing there as well sterling is looking a bit stronger, quite a good bounce. Against the Australian dollar, we're weaker, and that's an indication of Australian dollar strength. Taking a look at the S&P 500, the US market just holding up, fell away a bit yesterday, but the real story is Nasdaq, and we'll look at this a little bit more closely than we normally would. What's interesting here is that we've had this big sell-off on Friday last week. We've had the reaction up, and that's been the first part of this week, but really we're seeing quite a big sell-off again, coming back to test this low level. So this level now is pretty critical, and we gave that yesterday. It's about 56.30 on the Nasdaq 100 index. Remember, I'm looking at the Nasdaq 100. 56.30 as the level, and we're seeing here the sort of bounce on support. There's a short-term support level here, so that's quite key. We do have these downside targets, 2% and 8% respectively, and that downside target is now activated. There are quite a lot of support levels further down, so it wouldn't be surprised if we didn't make it to that 8% downside. But for the moment, the 60-minute cloud chart is looking a little bit bearish, and so we've got to be aware that we could see a sell-off in the Nasdaq. See here on the daily chart, we're above the cloud. We could come all the way back to the cloud and still be bullish, and of course the weekly chart has run a long way from that cloud as well. Taking a look at the Dow, Dow is making new highs still, so that's looking bullish, and the Russell 2000 is holding up pretty strongly as well, having broken to the upside. So the Nasdaq is the risk for the US market at the moment, but is this a buying opportunity for tech stocks? We'll have to wait and see. There is encouragement that the broader indices are still looking pretty strong. The S&P future is up very slightly this morning, so we're just seeing some improvement there, and the Nasdaq E-mini up 0.25%, so maybe we will recover through the cloud this at the end of the week. The FTSE 100 is up quite strongly this morning, up 1/3%, but of course bearish below the cloud on the short term. Nearly met the target. If we don't meet this target and rise, that's bullish confirmation that we didn't quite get to the target. And interestingly, again, the long and medium term charts are bullish. FTSE 250 had a terrible day yesterday, recovering quite strongly this morning, again up 0.75%. But interestingly, we are just still below the cloud on the short-term chart. Medium term, we're just finding some support on the cloud. The DAX has been quite volatile as well. Markets sold off generally yesterday, and we're just seeing that DAX recovering this morning again. The Nikkei is still holding its bullish position on all three clouds, so that's looking a little bit better. And the Hang Seng also is just deteriorated the last few days, where we've gone through the cloud on the short-term chart, but the medium and long-term are okay. The Hang Seng, the Shanghai Composite is just hitting some resistance on the medium-term chart. Long-term has been bearish for a long time, and the short-term just turning a little bit more bearish as well. And the Sensex is also just struggling at the moment in the short term, so just coming through the cloud there. The S&P 200 index, the Australian market, is looking bullish, having recovered through the cloud, and the medium term is looking like we're just finding support on that, so looking a bit better. Brent crude is up this morning, but still below the cloud on the medium and short-term charts. We've got this new downside target to 44. That's 6.8% downside. That's really off this latest selling thrust. So we are still seeing potential for crude oil to fall. WTI also has a similar downside potential of about 7% to 41.60. So we are seeing crude heading for the low 40s. The nat gas future has recovered back above $3, and so we're seeing quite a jump there yesterday. That would have been on storage numbers, being a Thursday, and so we're seeing here that that's looking stronger. Taking a look at some of the other products, heating oil, very similar to crude, but recovering again quite strongly at the moment, but bearish on the medium and short-term charts. Going straight to gold, we see gold is still bearish below the cloud on the short-term chart, but the medium and long-term picture still looks pretty bullish, and we're seeing here this transition or trend change, so that's quite key. But we are falling away. No clear downside targets on the 60-minute chart there, and the same with silver. We're bearish, and more bearish on the medium term, and the long-term picture not looking great for silver. So, still a little bit of a concern there for precious metals. 10-year Treasury yields at 2.17%, just starting to recover through the cloud. And now we get on to tech. And so here we see, remember on that Nasdaq pattern, we had the double bottom. So we're looking out for anything that's worse than that double bottom. Apple very closely mimicking the Nasdaq, where we're coming back and finding support on that bottom. Google actually looking more bullish, not taking to its lows that we saw a few days ago. So this is looking better than the market. Amazon the same. Facebook also the same. So Apple's a big aspect of that move in the Nasdaq, and then Microsoft also looking better with a higher low. So one encouragement is that when we look at the individual stocks, we are just seeing most of them are making a higher low. We'll need to keep an eye on that for today. That's it and for now. Happy charting for the weekend. Until Monday. See you then.